So this is my first video, and it's really hard. In 2004, I had been sick for several years without anyone being able to know what it was, and my friends were watching me fade. I went from 115 pounds to 92 pounds, and I looked like a skeleton. Later, my mom would tell me that I also smelled like death. And my friends wanted to try and be as positive as they could be with me, and always had those uplifting comments to make whenever I brought any fears up. And, you know, things like, oh, you can't think like that, and you gotta stay more positive. And what ended up happening was I felt so very alone. I was surrounded by people who cared, and I felt so alone. And I mean, like, I remember a week before I went to a show with a friend of mine, and we were standing out front smoking, and I said, you know, I said something, and she said, you can't think like that, you have to stay positive. And I remember turning to her and saying, if they don't find this soon, I'm gonna be dead within a week. I wasn't dead, but a week later I was in the hospital with a collapsed lung, and unknown to everyone, there was also a blood clot in my colon, and it killed off part of it, which caused me to go septic, and I ended up with organ failure, and I was in a medically induced coma that I'm kind of confused on. They said that, but then they also said they tried to bring me out and there was nothing there, and that they did a scan of my brain and there wasn't activity that should be there. And so the ER said they'd never had anyone have such a vigil at the ICU. There was never a moment that there wasn't someone with me and other people waiting in a special room they made just for my friends. And family came up and were around, and everybody really, I wish I could have seen it, because I went from feeling so alone to that week prior to the coma where I could feel something else was wrong, and it wasn't my lung. I could sense it, nobody was listening, and after a while I was hallucinating, and I was very aggressive, and I'm kind of an aggressive person anyway, but this was out of the ordinary aggressive, like throwing things at people, and my friends and family started to agree with me that something else was wrong. And on the 5th of September, my nose was blue, my skin was yellow, and they finally realized that something else was going on. And I was writing every day in a journal, because I just don't trust hospitals, and I was charting every medication, what time, every blood pressure. I was charting everything. And in the book, when I look at it on the 5th, there is one last entry that a friend of mine said I wrote as they were rushing me on a gurney to the ICU. And it's in handwriting I don't recognize, and it is, you can't read it, it doesn't make sense, it's nonsense. But in that moment, I knew that there was something happening, and I needed to say something. I just wish I knew what it was. And on, you know, I was dumb, and I looked at all my medical records. I got them all, and I read everything over and over. And on the 9th, there was a series of 3 flat lines. And so today is my rebirth day. And strangely, on my 4th, I was a basket case, and a friend of mine says, come on, it's not every day you turn 4 a second time, and dragged me out to a bar, and I was puffy from crying and dressed just blah. And I ended up meeting my husband that night. So the ninth now is a very complicated series of emotions. I have pretty severe PTSD that no matter how many years go by is still exactly the same, and I will dream and I will flash back and I will smell things, and it's a hard time every year, and I obsess and I reread my notes and I relook at everything, and I can't stop it. Everybody wants me to just move on and be happy I'm alive, and yes, that is partially true, but there is also parts that it's not, and I can't get over it. No matter how hard I try, every year it hits me the same way. But one thing I wanted to talk about, I'll make another video for some of the other details, but one thing was, I remember just days before the collapsed lung, I was listening to this cheesy one-hit wonder from the 80s that, in the 80s, I felt like I had a lot of friends / acquaintances, but I had no best friend. I didn't have anyone that considered me their number one go-to gal, and I remember when that song came out, it made me cry, because I wanted it so badly. And so days before the collapsed lung, I found the cassette single, because I'm old, and I played it over and over and over in my room, just bawling. And the song is called A Shoulder to Cry On by Tommy Page. And it's from the point of view of a friend saying, no matter what, you've got me. I'm there, I've got your back. And I cried, and I played it, and I cried because I had so many people that cared, but wouldn't let me talk about my fears. Whether it made them uncomfortable, or if it was them trying to protect me from my own negativity, I'm sure all the reasons were positive and nothing, malice or intended to be rude. But I played it over and over thinking, God, where is that person for me? Where is that person that will let me talk about what I'm feeling? I feel myself dying. I feel myself rotting. I feel it, and it's terrifying. And there was no one I could say that to. And then, days later, I'm in a coma, and I think some people might have actually shown up to be part of that crew, the 24-hour crew. I think one person specifically showed up out of guilt, because I called for a ride to the hospital with the collapsed lung, and her response was, you always call me when you just need shit, take a fucking cab. And so I'm pretty sure, because I also called her that first week, it was just the collapsed lung and she wouldn't come. And so when I went in coma, I think that was her just terrified that the last thing she said to me was something totally fucked up. Pardon my French. But when I woke up, I felt very loved. I heard all these stories of everybody surrounding me, and oh God, I'm so messy, sorry. And I felt very loved. I felt, oh wow, I must have been, off somehow. All these people love me and are here. But over the months and coming 2 years, I pretty much lost everybody that had been there. And I had a couple of separate people tell me that it was, paraphrasing, because they couldn't handle seeing me, because what they watched happen to me was so traumatic to them. And to that, I there's a part of me that understands that people can only handle what they can handle, right? But as a caregiver for the majority of my life for sick family, I was of the mindset that screw my discomfort, what they're going through must be so much worse. And yeah, so I lost just about everybody. And also because I was different, they said. I came back a different person. And yeah, dying and being in a coma and having an out-of-body experience and ICU, and yeah, it'll change you. Sorry, I'm not the same me. But today I heard that song again, and that is what it made me cry, and it is what made me make this video, because again, I find myself in a situation where I feel very separated from the world, and I have been pretty much bedridden for 5 years after a couple of surgeries. But one friend took the day off work tomorrow, which is the 9th, which is my flatline / rebirth day. She took the day off of work to come and be with me. And I cried for a whole separate reason. I cried because I have that person now. And I had that person in her. And I have that person in my mom, who is just unending support. And I have that person in my husband. Now, at different times, each one of them might not be able to handle the emotional complications that come with being me. So I try to spread it around as much as I can between the three of them to not overwhelm anyone. But I'm so thankful that I'm not being told your fears aren't valid. Well, actually, my brother also is there for me. He actually said, I would never tell you that you're not allowed to be terrified when you're not feeling well. You went through something none of us will understand, and you faced your mortality, and it must be terrifying to know what your body is capable of doing to you. Oh, his infinite wisdom, my brother. So today I'm crying, but it's different. It's different because I have people now that let me express my fears and my discomfort of everything. And on top of that, I found a wonderful community of chronically ill people. And I hate to say that I'm so thankful for that, because I don't want people to be chronically ill or chronically in pain. But damn, when it comes to my life, I am thankful. And yeah, it originally started when I found an essay called The Spoon Theory, and I ended up joining the website and meeting amazing women, and a couple of men even braved it, and I actually even wrote a couple of, or maybe 3 or 4 things for the site, and thanks to that, and it's grown exponentially into this just you just search the spoon theory, and it's incredible how many people are out there and saying the same thing as me. Is I just want to be able to express my fears and my pain and not have to put on that mask and worry about others' discomfort, and simply just be me and be real. And so even if I didn't have the amazing people in my world that let me say these things, I have a wonderful online community at my fingertips should I need it. Someone is always going to be there at whatever hour, and they're going to understand, and they're going to be supportive. And so this is my first video, and I've been meaning to do one because there's not a whole lot of sepsis survivors, and so there's no support group, and well, at least there wasn't in 2004 and up to like 2009. Now there's a couple of places that you can go to that are doing wonderful work to spread the word about sepsis and how to spot it right away, because it is such a killer. And in my time, the mortality was much, much higher. I only had a 15% chance of survival after it went into the organs and brain. So I am a miracle, and I recognize that, but I decided I would make this, and I would share it, and be brave, instead of hiding in my room, afraid to try again to express myself and be shot down or be, you know, placated with the calming terms and the soft, it'll be all right. And no, it's not. It's not all right at all. Nothing I went through is all right. I'm still not all right. And I'm still sick. It's not like a car accident and I broke something and I got to heal and move on. This is something that is a threat no matter what. This is just my body. It's terrible. It's a lemon. And I wish there was a lemon law for bodies, because I would turn this damn thing in and get a brain transplant, because this one's done for. So I'm hoping that doing this, maybe it will find somebody. Maybe it will help someone, even one person, feel less alone, and that person wouldn't have to listen to that song, Shoulder to Cry On, and cry because there's no shoulder there. I'm putting this out there because I am here, and I am going through similar things to the broken of the world, whether it's mental disability, physical disability, whatever it is. We're all in that together, and it makes a community, and it makes me stronger. And I'm hoping that by sharing parts of my story in installments, so I don't overwhelm anyone, I hope it makes someone else feel a little stronger and a little less alone. I might not be able to give you my shoulder physically, but I'm here, and I hope to hear from some of you out there. And I don't even know how to end these. I've never made a video. This is very strange for me. So thanks for listening, and I will hopefully make another one soon with the next installment of the chaos that is the coma story and the chaos that is my continuing story. Thank you again. Thank you for your support to the people that I have talked to, and to anyone watching, thank you.